Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chicane, where we, your hosts,
Brindley.
and McKenna, put the chic in motorsport.
Our goal is to bring you the latest paddock pulp, provide in-depth and unique interviews with fans and your favorite F1 content creators.
And encourage you to learn more about the sport in a fun and innovative way.
With that, we hope you enjoyed the episode this week as we dive into IndyCar.
With that, let's get revving.
Woo!
Woo!
Just did that on the spot.
I know the pressure I feel when I do it.
Yeah. Okay. P1s and DNFs.
All right. I actually feel like I had something that I was gonna say that I was thinking about the other day, but now I've completely forgotten it. So maybe you should go first.
Okay. P1. What's today? The
third.
The third. I've got 2 weekends until COTA. And next weekend I have off of school, thank goodness, for fall break. I am so stressed with homework right now. So I get a break and then I get to go to COTA. So those are P1s for me. DNF, homework, and yeah, I think that's it about for right now. The only thing that's like making me upset, I guess, is homework. So.
Mm-hmm.
Also another P1, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah, it's on Sunday.
I'm excited for you. You're getting older.
I'll be 21, guys.
21. Can you do something for me?
I can drink to my heart's content.
You wouldn't though.
I know. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm not.
I'll drink a couple matchas that day, maybe. All right. My P1 is my anniversary was on the 1st. So we celebrated 2 years. So that was really fun. We went out on a little date and got dinner.
Aww.
Which we haven't gone on a date in a long time, so that was really nice. And then I don't know about a DNF. It's just kind of like the same stuff, like you kind of like just for me, it's like moving and that stuff. But it's like ramping up like these next 2 weeks are like the final push and we're gonna make it and be on the other side.
Yeah.
So you guys don't get tired of me talking about it yet because I'm almost done talking about it. So
yeah. And then that also intertwines with our schedule too. So we won't be posting 1 week.
Yeah, next week. We're not posting. But then we'll be back for a COTA
preview
analysis.
Yeah.
Like a preview, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have to figure out when to do that because I have a flight on Thursday, so.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
As for paddock pulp, the only paddock pulp that I was able to find this week since last week was that Chloe Chambers of Formula One's F1 Academy will be racing next year, but she will be driving for Red Bull Ford Academy program instead of Haas. So that's a new step. I'm actually really happy for her. I feel like Red Bull athletes get a lot more recognition when it comes to like the world in sports. So I'm excited to see what that brings her and what opportunities that brings her.
Yeah, and she's been doing so good this season. And so I'm really excited to see her in a Red Bull.
I know. Excited.
Hopefully she can do even better next year.
Yeah.
Maybe win a couple races.
Maybe.
All right. So, as promised, we are talking about IndyCar this week. This is a dummy's guide to IndyCar, which I needed. I'm not calling you guys dummies. I'm saying that I needed this.
No, same.
All right, we're just going to jump right in. So, IndyCar differs from other racing categories by racing on 3 different types of tracks. Mm-hmm. They race on road circuits, which is just a traditional racetrack, street circuits, and then both long and short ovals. So technically 4, but I just kind of grouped the oval track into 1.
Yeah.
So the format of race weekends changes depending on what track they're at, where they're at, if it's a doubleheader, whatnot. But the basic kind of outline is Friday, there's 2 practice sessions, a morning session and an evening session or afternoon session. On Saturday, there's a morning session and an afternoon qualifying. And then Sunday is the race. And they will sometimes get a little like warm up session if they're at a road or street circuit, but not on oval tracks. And then one thing to note that is different than a lot of other categories is IndyCar races begin with a rolling start instead of a standing start for all tracks, not just oval tracks.
Nice.
All right.
As for qualifying, during an oval qualifying, the cars will get 2 warm-up laps. Then they have 2 fast laps, where the average time or average speed will determine the order for Sunday. For road and street qualifying, it's broken down into 3 parts. Let me get into that. During session 1, the grid is split into 2 groups where they get 10 minutes of track time, and their fastest lap is recorded. The fastest laps are recorded. The fastest 6 drivers of each group move on to the second qualifying session, while the other drivers will be assigned their grid positions from 13 to 27. Group 1 will be placed in odd number positions, and Group 2 will be placed in even number positions. This is a lot of information. I'm trying to go slow. During session 2, the driver again gets 10 minutes of track time to get their fastest lap. The fastest 6 cars move on to the session, what we call the Fast 6. And the remaining 6 cars secure their spots on the grid according to their lap time. For the Fast 6, the 6 advancing cars receive 6 minutes of guaranteed green flag track time. At the end of that session, the cars are ranked 1 through 6 based on their fastest lap during the segment.
So yeah, one thing to note is the Fast 6 get 6 minutes of guaranteed green flag track time, but in the session 1 and 2, they get 10 minutes, but the clock keeps running if there's a crash, yellow flag.
Yeah.
And like they don't stop. So you could have 2 minutes of track time.
Yeah.
If there's like a bad yellow flag or something like that. So, all right, now we'll get into pit stops. So there are 7 members of each IndyCar team that are allowed to go over the wall to work on the car. There is 4 tire changers, a fueler, the person who does the jack to lift the car, an aero screen assistant, which will tear off a little sticker, basically, that's on the visor. That's not the right word. Of the car to make it a little bit easier to see. And then that's it. I think I hit all of them. 4 and yeah. IndyCars refuel at each stop, which takes about 10 seconds, and within that 10-second window, all the tires are changed, and then they are allowed to exit the pit lane.
As for the cars in IndyCar are almost completely identical. They use the same chassis and aerodynamic kit, with the engines coming from either Chevrolet or Honda. Everything else racing teams build and develop to give themselves an edge and like adds more to the competition in each race. IndyCar also does not have power steering. Because of this, it is much harder to steer in the IndyCar series, making it a lot more physically taxing on the drivers. In 2024, IndyCar introduced a 2.2-liter twin-turbo V6 engine with a hybrid technology as its power plant. With this new power unit, it brings additional horsepower and overtake options, aiming to bring more on-track action, give the drivers more control, and continue to make the sport more competitive and enjoyable to viewers.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we're going to talk about the tires. IndyCar gets their tires from Firestone instead of Pirelli. So Firestone provides 3 types of tires for road and street courses and 1 for ovals. So there's a black tire, or the primary tire, and this is basically a Formula One hard tire. It's built to last and be more durable. They'll get the most amount of laps on these tires, but will sacrifice a little bit of speed. Then the red tire, or the alternate tire, is softer and allows for higher speeds but wears down faster. And then there is a gray sidewall tire that is for wet weather conditions. On ovals, they only use the primary black tire, and if there's any rainfall, they will not go out on track. They will just stop the session. However, they have been testing some different tires recently, so this may switch up in the future. They may bring more options to oval races, or a 4th tire option for street and road circuits, which always is super fun and changes up the strategies that drivers can use and would be really interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And then as for points, they are awarded for all finishing positions. So if you cross the finish line, you get a point.
Yeah.
The first place car gets 50 points, second place gets 40 points, third gets 35 points, fourth, 32, fifth, 30th, sixth, 28, and going down to, I think, 11th place, it pretty much just goes down by 2. And then after that, it goes down to like 7, 6, 5. And the rest of the drivers get 5 points.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then 1 bonus point is awarded to pole position, leading at the last lap of the race, and 2 points are given to the driver who led the most laps of the race.
Oh, that's pretty
There's
cool.
no fastest lap.
Yeah.
Bonus point.
That's pretty cool.
And then during the Indy 500 and the final season of the race, these points are doubled.
Wow.
So if you get pole position, you get an extra point, unlike Formula One. And then if you lead a lot of the race and happen to lose it on the last couple laps, you will also get a couple extra points.
Wow. I like that, actually. As for teams and drivers, so this is going to be a lengthy section before we get into like the Indy 500. So buckle up.
Bear with us.
What?
Bear with us.
Bear with us. The 2025 teams for the season are AJ Foyt Enterprises, Andretti Global, Arrow McLaren, Chip Ganassi Racing, Dale Cone Racing, Ed Carpenter Racing, Meyer Shank Racing, Junkos or Junkos, I don't know if you're supposed to like say it silently, but Hollinger Racing, Rahal Letterman Langen Racing, or RLL, which is much easier to say, Team Penske, and then Prema will be added to the 2025 grid next season. Yeah, and then all of the drivers in that. 2025 hasn't confirmed all of their seats, so I will be saying like there's like 1 seat unknown, 2 seats unknown, those type of things. As for AJ Foyt, Santorina Ferrucchi and David Malukas will be driving for them next season. Andretti Global will continue to have Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, and Marcus Ericsson. Aaron McLaren will keep Pato O'Ward and Nolan Sagal, but add on Christian Lundgaard and Kyle Larson for 6 races, including Indy 500. Kyle Larson is only for those 6 races, not him and Christian. Chip Ganassi will have Alex Palou, and then the other seat is unknown for right now. Dale Cone is both of the seats are open right now. Ed Carpenter will have Alexander Rossi and Christian Ramison, and Ed Carpenter will actually be racing for 6 of the races, including the Indy 500. Meyer Shank we'll have Felix Rosenquivitz. I don't know how to say his last name, but we know who I'm talking about. Marcus Armstrong. And then Helio Castroneves will be driving for the Indy 500 and 6 races in that season for Meyershank. Jonkos Hollinger, both seats are open. RLL will have Graham Rahal, and then the other 2 seats are unknown. Team Penske will continue to take on Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, and Scott McLaughlin. And then Prema Racing, since it's been added to the calendar, will take on Callum Elliott, who drove for McLaren a couple years back. And then the other seat is unknown.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yeah, I feel like the drivers and the teams tend to be what people get the most confused about, because sometimes driving for the same team, you'll have different colors. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you're first getting into the sport, the colors helps you differentiate things a lot. I remember when I was first getting into Formula One, I would be like, oh, the yellow team, because like it just association.
Yeah.
So one thing that can help identify is each team uses the same font during a race. So even if there's different colors, their driver numbers have specific fonts. So that is, if there's like a leaderboard, that is the best way I find to kind of help identify.
So smart.
And then sometimes there's like a wild card driver. So they'll be in for like 3 races, or how there's certain drivers who only do ovals.
Yeah. Which are the 6 races that we were talking about.
So if you don't know, it's okay. Just keep watching, and over time you will start to understand. Mm-hmm. And then there's also not a requirement. How Formula One has 2 drivers per team, you can have. There's really no limit.
Well,
actually,
you can have 2 to 6 drivers on a team throughout a season, because there's only 27 spots on a grid. Besides the Indy 500, which holds 33.
Yeah, and then the drivers don't get to choose their numbers. Mm-hmm. The teams choose the numbers for the cars. Mm-hmm. The car is technically what is entered into the race. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if you have number 60, for example, you can actually have 2 drivers to the number 60 car, and one of the drivers might do all the oval circuits while the other driver does all the street and road circuits. Yeah. So I understand that bit is confusing, and even sometimes that still trips me up. So just know that we all understand if you're confused.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing at first, but it is still fun. I think the one thing about IndyCar, even just how much of a short time that we've been involved in it, it's so much more accessible. Mm-hmm. And it feels, I don't know what the word is, but like it just feels so much more fun to me because of the changes that you see at each race. Like, yes, with Formula One, it's different than like maybe NASCAR, because NASCAR just races on oval tracks, but Formula One has the different types of tracks every time we go. But I kind of mm-hmm. like the mixture of both for every race.
Yeah, there's truly like something for everyone.
Yeah. And then, as we have said, like, the paddock is so much more accessible. You get to talk to the drivers. I saw something on TikTok the other day where it was like, tell me a motorsport series where you can literally watch the drivers, talk to them, and then go celebrate them at the podium and walk past their car while you do it. Like, mm-hmm. That's crazy. Like, the Formula One, the accessibility is so limited. And then NASCAR doesn't really like celebrate that intensely. So like IndyCar is good for everybody. IndyCar is for everybody.
Yeah. And the races, like going to them, are truly like so much fun. Mm-hmm. And I mean, at least we had a great experience. I can't say that everyone has. Yeah. But if you're wanting to try out going to a race, I would recommend IndyCar would be a good one to start at.
Yeah. And this is a great information episode to listen on the way there, so you know, or are mm-hmm. refreshed on everything.
Yeah.
Indy 500.
Let's talk about the Indy 500. So, the Indy 500 is arguably one of the most iconic races in all of motorsport. It is up there with the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the Monaco Grand Prix. If you don't know, all those three races are part of the Triple Crown, and it's a little unofficial award that you get if you win all of those races. The track is made up of 4 straights and 4 corners. There are 2 short straights and 2 long straights. And so it's a giant, giant oval track.
Yeah.
And the drivers will complete 500 laps around this track.
Yes.
200 around a 1-mile circuit is like so taxing and crazy. It's like 500 is boggles my mind a little bit.
Yeah, if you're a NASCAR fan, NASCAR typically ranges from like 400 to 600 laps, depending on the track that they're at. But IndyCar, like McKenna was just saying, depending on the track that they're at, if they are on an oval, it's typically around 200 to 300 laps. So jumping to 500 laps for the Indy 500 is a big jump, and can be really taxing.
Yeah. I think we already mentioned that there are 33 cars allowed.
Yeah.
But not 33 cars start the race. Is that right?
I don't know.
Because you can get like knocked out and like not qualify.
Yes. So when it comes to qualifying, if you don't place, if you don't place in the top, I don't know what it is, because I'm thinking of the charter system, but I know that like what you said, if you don't make it into qualifying, then they just will not let you race.
So, yeah, qualifying for the Indy 500 goes across 2 days, and it pretty much their initial qualifying session works how we already explained oval tracks regularly work. And then if a driver wants to improve their time or speed, they feel like they can get a better time, they can get into a queue where there will be a designated track time where they are allowed to go back on track and try again, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, other than that, the race is pretty much just a typical oval race. They have their rolling start and complete 500 laps. The cars, instead of 2x2, will start 3x3. And so it creates quite the spectacle and quite a lot of really close action.
It's a very long anticipated race fan event. It's one of the biggest events in motorsport history. So that's like actually crazy. That happens every year. Also, if you are an IndyCar fan and you have been following it for a couple of years, you'll recognize some of the like wild card entries for some of the teams that we mentioned earlier. Like, what was his name? Helio Castroneves will be racing for 6 races and then race in the Indy 500 for Meyer Shank. He is a 4-time IndyCar winner, Indy 500 champion. So that's a very rare thing, guys. He, I think he's the most, now that I'm thinking about it.
The Indy 500 is also where celebrating with milk.
Yes.
Comes into play. The drivers get to choose whatever milk they prefer, and if they win, they get a jug of milk to take a sip and pour over themselves instead of champagne. I actually have no idea how that started.
Oh, he tied. So there's only 4 people in history that have won the Indy 500 4 times, and that's AJ Foyt, Al Unser, Rick Mayers, and Helio Castroneves. Yeah, I want to know who came up with the idea of like milk.
Well, it's the Indy 500 is more than 100 years old.
Yeah.
So it started in 1911. Um, so milk is what they had.
Milk is what they had. No champagne.
Yeah. And was milk considered like a luxury
I
then?
don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe that's a history lesson. I don't know.
The Indianapolis 11 International 500-mile sweepstakes race was held on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1911.
Wait, so I have a fun question for you. And I guess everybody else. I'd love to see you guys comment this. You said that you can choose the milk that you get if you win.
Mm-hmm.
What milk would you get?
Whole
Oh.
or raw?
I was going to say chocolate. Chocolate milk. I'm not a big fan of milk, so if I were winning, I'd probably want to have chocolate milk if I had to have milk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's an option, though.
I think like 2% is the most popular. But they say, like the drivers will say, like, oh, well, whole milk looks the best wise when you're like dumping it. So I think a lot of them choose based on like looks.
And not like
But
taste.
some of them randomly pick skim milk.
That's like practically water when you pour
Maybe
it.
they're just lactose intolerant.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
don't know. So what milk would you guys choose? Apparently chocolate milk is not an option. So which variation of regular milk would you have? Can you do almond milk?
You can choose like probably almond or oat, something like that.
I just imagine a little like oat milk carton. Maybe instead of the champagne pop, because I can't drink, we should do our little like karting thing and we should like celebrate in milk.
Maybe I should do a champagne pop for my birthday.
You should.
That could be a fun little way to celebrate.
Yeah, good. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We will not waste your guys. Well, I don't think we wasted your time. We will not take up any more of your time today. We hope you learned something about IndyCar, and we hope you tune in to the 2025 season because I know we will, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
and
that's that.
This is IndyCar.
This is IndyCar. That's checkered flag, guys.